Hello and welcome to The Insider, a show designed to clue you into the biggest news, events and announcements inside the video games industry, discussing with you some things you may know, some things you may not, and the glue that holds it all together is a little bit of my own opinion. My name is Paul James, thank you very much for watching, and thank you for joining the very first episode of The Insider for 2020. So it's the first week of Player 2 action this week, it's the first week of The Insider, and it's the first week of any real gaming coverage kind of resurfacing across the entire internet. That includes news and there's the various sort of goings on that we expect from the games industry. As such, there hasn't really been all that much. So in this first episode of 2020, we're going to explore 5 predictions that I have for the gaming year ahead, 2020, and how this year is going to shape up and play out. So let's get into it.
Wake the fuck up, samurai. We have a city to burn.
We'll begin by discussing Nintendo, and specifically The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild 2, or the sequel to Breath of the Wild, whatever that ultimately goes on to be called. We know it's happening, it's been officially announced. We know that Nintendo is working very hard on it. There's been recruiting stuff that we've seen pop up on the internet over the course of the last few years. We perhaps hoped that would be Breath of the Wild related, but that wasn't confirmed until last year. Now it's finally coming, and the prediction I'm going to drop, number 1 here, is that the game comes out this year. With PlayStation bringing the PS5 and Xbox bringing Xbox Series X, or whatever the overall heading ends up being for that particular console, Nintendo needs to bring something. Now they've got a good year ahead. Animal Crossing's already confirmed, and there's plenty of other games I think we can reasonably speculate would come this year. But the big heavy hitter, the one that they are banking on, that we as fans and consumers of Nintendo products are banking on, is The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild 2. We expect big things from it, and given how huge the game is, and let's keep in mind the popularity of the Legend of Zelda franchise, Breath of the Wild is the biggest, best-selling game ever in this very short period in a franchise that contains Ocarina of Time. It's the best-selling game in the franchise ever, and you have to expect the sequel is going to do similar, if not better, numbers. And that bodes really well for Nintendo, it bodes well for Switch consumers, and it's exactly the sort of firing shot that they need to send out there against their competitors that are coming with 2 new systems. So speaking of those 2 new systems, we do have the PS5 and we have Xbox Series X, and those 2 consoles have both been confirmed to release at Holiday 2020, so the end of the year. Typically that October-November sort of period is what we expect and associate with new console launches when we're talking about holiday period. So, what's going to happen with those? Well, let's begin by talking about price, and we'll talk about date. So firstly, price, don't expect either console, Xbox or PlayStation, no matter whether there's multiple SKUs, high end or low end or whatever, don't expect either system to get over the $700 Australian dollar price, which equates to about $480, $500 for US consumers if you're a US person or use the US dollar as a bit of a baseline for some of your comparisons. We're talking $480 to $500 here US, about $700 Australian. Don't expect either system to go over that. It's that really fickle sort of point. We don't want to creep too close to the PS3's 1,000 Aussie dollars, unbelievable still to this day. And we don't want to get into that $599 US dollars sort of conversation again with the PS3. I think both PlayStation and Xbox have learnt a lot from the issues that PlayStation had pricing wise in the two generations past. Don't expect to see that happening again. $700 is a very reasonable price Australian, and expect both consoles to launch somewhere under that. Given some of the news that we've heard recently about the Xbox Series X and the PS5 and the power of those systems, expect the Xbox to be the more expensive one. There'll be a difference between those that might work well for PlayStation or Xbox. That remains to be seen. What will be interesting is the release date. Now again, expect October, November, but I'm going to tip that the PlayStation will be the one that gets out first. We saw the same thing occur at the beginning of this generation where PlayStation kind of let Xbox shoot their shot. They put their date out there. They were very forward and all that, and then PlayStation dropped their news. And PlayStation has been very quiet, and weirdly so, given that they've got a new system coming. But they've been strangely quiet. Expect them to wait as long as possible to drop that release date to the last possible minute. Wait until Xbox has got their news out there, and then say, "Hey, we're going to come out a week or two beforehand." It happened last generation, and I think it's going to happen again.
Get ready.
Prediction number 3. Halo is the big heavy hitter for Xbox at the launch of the Xbox Series X. Halo Infinite specifically. PlayStation hasn't announced anything of that sort of scale or magnitude just yet. We all know very well that they've got The Last of Us Part 2 and Ghost of Tsushima both coming to the PS4 this year. But what's the support going to look like for the new system? Well, a lot of people have speculated, and I've thrown my 2 cents in there over the course of the last few years, that I believe that it was either Horizon Zero Dawn 2, or at least Horizon 2, or Spider-Man 2. I'm now putting my chips in the Horizon camp. Guerrilla have been working on that for quite some time. Insomniac will have less time, about 1.5 years less time than what Guerrilla have had, and you can expect that if there's going to be a heavy hitter first party PlayStation exclusive title coming to the PS5 day one, that it's probably going to be something from Guerrilla. They've done it before in the form of Killzone Shadowfall for the PS4. They know what it's like to release a game for the launch of a system. Insomniac have done it as well. They put Resistance on the PS3. But Guerrilla are in the better position of the two companies to hit that launch date. They need a big heavy hitter. Horizon is huge. PlayStation has made it very clear that they want to turn this thing into a franchise. They will, and you can expect to see Horizon Zero Dawn 2 at the launch of the PS5 later this year.
Outcast! You came from nothing. You will die a nothing.
Last PlayStation thing, I promise. I know it's my wheelhouse, but the last thing for them. PlayStation VR 2 will be announced this year. Does it launch with the PS5? I'm not so sure. There's a huge manufacturing thing there. We've seen leaks for the console. You would think that if those sort of leaks were getting out, that there might have been some form of leak about a VR 2 at the same time, if it were in the hands of developers already. So my theory is that we'll be using the original VR for a little while into this generation. I'm sure it'll be compatible somehow, and it'll still work with the PS5 and backwards compatibility VR games, etc, etc, etc. But there will be a second model of the PlayStation VR, PSVR 2, that will come to the PS5, will be compatible, maybe it'll be wireless, fingers crossed, that'd be great. And I think PlayStation needs to. They recently revealed, when they made the least surprising announcement in the world of the PS5 logo, they did also speak about the fact that of the 106 million PS4s that have been sold, 5 million of those people have bought a VR unit. And that's a fantastic buy-in for a very expensive peripheral. This is not, Move controllers or the iToy or Kinect or anything like that. This is a $400-500 thing at launch, and it's cheaper now. That's a lot to ask people to buy into, and it's new technology. It's foreign technology to a lot of people, so there's a lot of resistance there. But PSVR is the leading, at this point, VR technology, not in terms of its performance, but in terms of the sales. It's got that buy-in from people, and expect PlayStation to continue to capitalize that going into the next generation. Xbox, might be time to get on board with it, guys. It's starting to go pretty well.
What the hell are you doing here?
You think I'd let you do this on your own?
My fifth and final prediction for today is that HalfLife Alyx is going to be a massive, massive success. Now, we did just talk about VR. HalfLife Alyx is not coming to PlayStation VR at present, fingers crossed that it does somewhere down the line, but it's coming to every other VR platform when it comes to PC. And obviously, Half-Life is a massive franchise. People adore it. It's got so much history. It's so important to so many people and the industry itself. There's a lot of pressure on Valve and kind of the Campo Santo team, but that's a whole other topic, to make Half-Life Alyx incredible. And it's working with VR, so it's new technology. I think it's kind of it lends itself to what Valve has spoken about many times when it comes to the Half-Life franchise, that if we can't innovate in some way, then we're not going to do it. This is their opportunity to do that. I expect that they have nailed it. We've already heard bits and pieces from Jeff Keighley, and he's spoken of his love of the game already, and then he's played it in its entirety. The game is supposed to be, may still get delayed, but supposed to be coming out in March. I expect this game to be massive. It's going to drive a lot of VR sales on the PC side. If it does come across to PlayStation VR, it will drive sales there as well. And I think it is exactly what Valve needs to see to get Half-Life 3 going. I'm not a crazy Half-Life person. They're good games, I thoroughly enjoy them, but I'm not, I don't live my life by all that Valve has done with Half-Life, unlike some people I know. But I respect it, and I know what this franchise is very capable of doing, and I think they will do it. It is going to be a huge game, and it's going to be a huge success, and you can look forward to it, Half-Life fans, because I think you're going to be very pleased. And so that concludes this week's episode of The Insider, the first of 2020. If you've enjoyed it, be sure to like, share and subscribe. All the buttons are down the bottom here, and hit that notification bell, that way you're alerted to every new video the moment it goes live on the channel. That includes Patched, more of The Insider, Player 2 Plays, Late Game Review, Gamer School and a whole lot more. There's some great stuff there, so please be sure to go and check it out. Visit the website, player2.net.au, where you'll find reviews, previews, opinion pieces, news, features, links to our podcast series, Patched, which has an audio form, the Player 2 Pixelcast, which returned just this week, so go and check that out, and Dev Diary, which returns next week. Graham Struthers is our guest, the first of 2020, one of the co-founders of Devolver Digital, and he's coming to share his game development, game publishing story with me on the show, so you can look forward to that next Thursday. We're also on Patreon, patreon.com/player2au, kicking a few bucks. At the lower tiers, you'll get early access to episodes, whilst at the higher tiers, you'll get monthly episode exclusives. Finally, there's Twitter. You can find me at Paul James Games, the website you find at player2au, and until next time, those are 5 predictions for the gaming year 2020. Thank you very much for watching. It's going to be a huge, crazy, busy year with some great games. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you next time.